So, Mark, did you see this cartoon that tells the story of hotel charges perfectly in 2024? Everything is a charge, everything is extra. At some hotels, you even have to pay to use the pool. What will they think of next?
Yeah, I love that they're like, and this last one is the charge for the paper that I had to use to print these charges out on, which is the same thing airlines do too. You know, if you go to the person and have them print it versus using the kiosk, you have to pay like $20 or $30, which is nuts.
I mean, whatever they can do to pay the bills, Mark, we have to support these beautiful companies and this great product that they put out.
I'm still waiting for one of them to charge to use the bathroom like they do in Europe.
Another peril of travel in 2024, oh boy, is surveillance pricing. And this is like very strange, and maybe people don't know this is going on, but as more and more data is gathered on us, there are companies, specifically eight that have been targeted by the government here, by the FTC, that are gathering all kinds of data on us. They know more about you than you know about yourself. And the problem coming is that they're starting to price things based on that data. It's really interesting. I worked in a call center back in 2013. So this was a while, and this was the early version of that. And when somebody would call in, it would pop up demographic information about that customer and then tell us what to sell them based on all of this data. Fast forward 11 years later, they have significantly more, and now they're using it to change prices based on your preferences, and the FTC is looking into it. They don't want this to happen. This is a bad practice.
Yeah, this is predatory for sure. And we've seen it like even in marketing and everything. Like if you talk about something around your phone, all of a sudden you pull up an app, a social media app, and every ad is about that, even if you don't want it. It's like that's all you see. And it could be like the most random of things is mentioned, and you know that it's listening. So that's like one side of this. But this is even more like tracking where you used your credit card, what you've bought, even like searching for flights over and over, like using different websites and stuff will drive the price up, which I find is so annoying that you could like be searching this one route, you search it like 3 4 times, and all of a sudden the price goes from 200 to 250. You wait like a day, it drops back to 200. It's just so shady, all of it.
Yeah, we should be outlawing it. We don't have the tools to fight back against this big data, so we should absolutely be pushing back against it. The eight companies, because I think people should know the names of these companies. These are the biggest ones in this space, not the only ones in this space, are MasterCard, Revionics, Bloomreach, JP Morgan Chase, Task Software, Pros, Accenture, and McKinsey and Company. I would guess that most people out there haven't heard of five or six of those.
Yeah, I think MasterCard and Chase, and sometimes MasterCard and Chase work together for some credit cards, so they're double dipping you a little bit there. But yeah, most of them are, shadow-esque companies behind the scenes that get the stuff together from other companies and then repackage it and send it out, all the info, and get all that stuff working. So a lot of it's behind the scenes, which makes it even harder to fight.
Let's move on to Southwest, because this was a big story. We talked on the Miles to Memories podcast for people who want to listen to both of us on the podcast. We had a great discussion about this last week, but Southwest had made some big changes, some huge changes. I would say maybe even the biggest changes in the history of their company. They're getting rid of the cattle call, Mark. No more A, B, C group boarding. You're going to have assigned seating. They're also going to change up their planes to add premium legroom seating, and they're adding red eyes, which is a new thing as well. So they're maximizing their schedule in that way. Basically, Southwest is becoming a normal airline.
Which a lot of people hate. And I think that our show, the 20-Minute Travel Show, is the reason for it. Most notably, Sean saying that they're going to add premium seats within the next 10 years. And they did it within the next 10 hours or days or something like that. It was pretty amazing that like right after release it happened. So that's funny. And now it will take a couple years for them to add that. The downside that a lot of people haven't really mentioned or haven't noticed, I doubt that they're going to take seats out to add this extra space for the seats up front. So if they add these seats with more pitch, they're going to be taking pitch from the other seats. So it's going to get a little bit tighter. Southwest has always had a bit more room than some others. Now it will probably be smaller. So they really are going like every other airline. I know a lot of people are happy about the seats. A lot of people are upset about the seats because they think the boarding process is smooth and quick and it's going to get longer. So it'll be interesting to see how they implement all this.
Yeah, I don't get the people who love the cattle call. I mean, I get dealing with it and liking Southwest otherwise, but don't like that at all. You're right. I think we're going to lose legroom here. And we talked about JetBlue and their mini mint on a previous show, how they're adding that first class or domestic first class product, and that's going to cause legroom to go down. This is what the name of the game is. How can we get more revenue per seat? That means, getting extra legroom seats and selling upcharge revenue for that. premium cabins. This is how the whole thing works. So it's no longer just buying a ticket and getting a seat. It's how can they get all this other revenue? And while Southwest is sort of locked into their bag policy, they can't do it that way. And so this is the way they're going to go, seats.
Now their business seats will actually make sense. Before they sold a business seat ticket and you just got on the plane earlier, but you didn't have a better seat and it was quite a bit more at times. And now you actually might get a better seat.
I mean, I got A6. I mean, I told you this last time, A6. That was good. I mean, that's business worthy. Made me feel important.
There you go. There's only like 14 other A6s, but yeah, I love how they do that. A1, 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 and then
Do they? I've never seen that.
yeah, if you buy the early bird or whatever thing, there'll be multiples of A1.
I feel heartbroken with my A6. I'm gonna just all my ego has been deflated. So the next story is just a follow-up on the meltdown from CrowdStrike and all that. Most airlines, they recovered, they went about their way, but not Delta. They have IT infrastructure from I don't know when, and they have not been able to recover. They're still recovering like a week later, still tons of canceled flights. The DOT is urging people to file complaints if they're not getting reimbursed, if Delta isn't following the rules, because they haven't been overly generous with this, unfortunately. And this is just a reminder, no matter how much you love an airline, we've seen every airline have a complete meltdown over the last couple of years. They're all subject to it. Delta, great customer service, and this still happens.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll never fly that airline again. They left me stranded for a day or two. Well, that's just luck of the draw. Like, no matter who you fly, at some point they're going to leave you stranded for a day or two if you fly enough. And that's just the way it is. You have to look at other reasons to like the airline, whether it be route, price, service, seats, whatever it is. Pick it because of that. It's kind of surprising to see, like, we expect this out of like a Southwest, who we joke about has, you know, computers from like the original Mac in 1983 or whatever. And that's what they had a meltdown for last year, was because their systems were so old. So I don't know what's going on with Delta. We always thought they were kind of forefront and had better systems, better operations. They're always the most arrogant airline. They think they run everything better than everybody else. And the fact that they're not compensating people or doing anything because of this just goes to show that arrogance doesn't get you much when things fall apart. So this is a big reason why we need laws in place like Europeans have, that they have to pay a fee. If people were getting $600 for these delays, they'd probably be a little bit happier about it, or not happier, but it'd be a bit easier to swallow if that was the case. But we don't have that. They should give you a voucher, or they should give you this, or they have to give you a refund. Who cares? It doesn't get you home.
I mean, what happened here is their crew scheduling software apparently got messed up with the thing. And so other airlines didn't suffer the same issues. So operationally, they came back, but they had crew everywhere and they couldn't figure out how to get crew to where they needed to for all of the regulations and all that you have with hours worked, and everybody was in a different place in a mess. So hopefully they upgrade based on that, because other airlines figured out how to do it. So yeah, like I said, your favorite airline will screw you over if you fly them enough. And this is just part of the game. And yeah, don't hate on one airline or the other. They are all subject to this, from Spirit all the way up. I mean, has Spirit had a meltdown? I don't think they have. So maybe that's the way to go.
I can't think of anything since it became Spirit. And they actually run on time a lot better than most airlines. The problem is, if they do have an issue, they probably only fly that route on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So you might be stuck a couple days just because they have no other plane or no other route to put you on. That's the downside to it.
Yeah, Spirit will stick you somewhere, even if they don't have a whole meltdown. They don't need that to screw you over. So let's move on to credit card news. And Amex has a big refresh for their gold card. This is premium stuff, high quality Amex and their whole brand image, and they're adding credits, Mark, and we're going to get some really high-end premium stuff. And what do you think they added? What kind of credit do you think they added?
I mean, for the Platinum card, they added Walmart Plus. So what's more premium than that? Dunkin', right? Dunkin' Donuts, coffee.
Hey, $7 a month at Dunkin'. Yes.
Yeah, that's I don't know where they came up with that, or $7. You think it'd just be 10 like everything else they have on the card? They also added Resi credit that's $50 twice a year, so biannually for the first 6 months and then the second 6 months, which I think people will be able to use that a bit more. $50 could maybe save you some money at these places. They're usually higher end places and expensive. At least you get a little bit more oomph there, but the best thing about Dunkin' is you can load the app with your card and you should get the credit that way and you can use it later.
As you said, they added a Resi credit. They also updated the dining credit to get rid of Shake Shack and add Five Guys, which is an interesting change. change. But I guess we buried the lead. The annual fee went up $75. So all of this, and you can pay more, and there's a cap on your dining spend as well.
Yeah, that's the Amex way. Let's raise the annual fee and then give you some credits that the other company paid for. So we're just making more money hand over fist, easy for us. We get the swipe fees on those charges too. We get to double dip you all the way home.
On a serious note, this is probably not the best card for some people. It does have categories, 4X bonus categories, dining, grocery, things that are great for people. This is a card that might work for some people. We're all tired of the credits and the annual fees, and this doesn't do anything to make me want the card more than before. Adding the Dunkin' credit, adding the Resi credit, making it more expensive, making me pay another fee. None of that's really working to get me to get the card, but I will say that this card does work for some people. It is very good for some people. So it's not a card that you absolutely should avoid, but I don't know what's going on with the brand image. Maybe they've just completely given up on it. Or I think that when they get these branding partnerships, they're making the partner like Dunkin' pay everything. And maybe they should have gone to Starbucks and kicked in a little bit more, and that would have worked a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe I just like Starbucks better than Dunkin'.
Yeah, I don't. It used to be like Amex when my dad, when I was younger, my dad got an Amex card. Like having an Amex card meant something. Like you were worthy. Just forget about it if you had a platinum card. Like you must have been like king boss man or woman, and you just ruled the world. They've definitely moved away from that. I don't know why. I'm to the point that I'm not going to sign up for any more cards that have all these credits because I'm just tired of jumping through hoops. I know we're weird that we have multiples of different cards and we have a lot of overlapping credits. But yeah, I'm kind of like decoupling myself from Amex as much as possible with these type of things.
And I hate that this show is kind of negative, or there's so many negative stories here, but let's talk Bilt and the headline that Mark used on Travel on Points: Bilt murders rent day, or something like that. Bilt's rent day has been amazing. They've had these, increased spend offers for Bilt cardholders where you could rack up tons of points. And a lot of people in the miles and points space did that. They took heavy advantage. Bilt points, very valuable. And then Bilt this week just, I guess that's a fair assertion to say they murdered it, because now you're limited to 1,000 bonus points on rent day.
Yeah, and I think my favorite caption of this was, now the first of the month is just an old Bone Thug song instead of rent day. But no, I mean, they're still going to have their promos and stuff, and they have good transfer bonuses and stuff. So I think it will still be worthwhile to pay attention to rent day, but you're not going to earn like you used to. And I just think the cap is way too low. You went from 10,000, which was too high. I think everybody knew it was too high. And now you drop it down to 1,000, which is like, what's the point really here now? 3,000 points a month, I think would have been more fair. And they said most people don't use this. They never went above 1,000. Well, then why bring it so low if it's not going to affect things anyway? I don't know. I feel like they used the 10,000 to draw up their swipe, like so they could show people, hey, this is how much we have in swipes. Now that they got their money, they're like, let's drop it down because we don't need that info anymore. Am I wrong?
You know why they dropped it down, Mark. You know why they dropped it down, because they don't want the heavy hitters. And like you said, they figured out 90% of our customers are not using this to a heavy extent, and the 10% that are costing us money. So we're going to limit it in this way. I think they just want normal sort of people. And it sounds like I'm defending them. I'm not. I don't think I agree with you completely that this sort of nerfs the promotion from our perspective, the way we look at it. But if you look at $333 in dining, $500 in travel, or 1,000 in non-bonus spend for one day, is the normal person really going to go over that? A $300 dinner? I could see where their argument is here. I think, going 2, 3, 5,000 would have been better. But this way they eliminate all that extra spend on those points for the people who probably weren't making the money. So from a business perspective, I sort of see it.
Yeah, but I think that this is so much to the other side that there are people that like saved up their discretionary bills and stuff like, hey, I'm going to pay my cell phone on the first, I'm going to pay my utilities on the first, and pay all that stuff, and it adds up to over $1,000. Now, are they going to still do that? Or if they go out to dinner and it's an expensive dinner, you're not going to put that on Bilt anymore if it's over $300, unless you can like split tender it, and but then you look like you're broke, so you don't want to do that either. So is this going to hurt them the other way? I think a lot of normal people, maybe they don't hit it every month, but I think several times a year would have gone over $1,000 in spend.
Yeah, they'll get the data and then they might adjust. I mean, Bilt has changed so much over just the last couple of years. It's very interesting to watch this upstart now to mainstream kind of loyalty program. We've both had conversations with the people behind it since the beginning. Very interesting. They're trying to be nimble. They're trying to be good. And they don't want to reward, they understand how this hobby works, and they understand the mentality of the hobby more than anybody. So they're always sort of battling that stuff. So let us know what you guys think. Do you think this is a terrible thing? Did they murder it? Is this just good business sense? Let us know down in the comments. This next one's fun, and it's actually a better deal than it sounds on the surface, and it sounds great on the surface if you like Super 8s, I guess. But Super 8 is having its 50th anniversary, and in celebration of that, they're going to sell rooms at 1974 prices, so $8.88, which is amazing. But when you actually find out how this works, you're actually buying 15,000 Wyndham points for $8.88 that you could use at a Super 8. So you could just keep those Wyndham points and use them basically anywhere, making this an even better deal.
Yeah, I think that's the amazing part. Like when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, well, that's a really good deal. There are some decent Super 8s. I've stayed in a Super 8 before, depending on where you are. So maybe this will work in certain areas. And then I, read through it and I'm like, wait a second, it sounds like they just give you points. And I confirmed with the PR person that that's what they do. So it's buying points worth $100 to $150 for, under $10. That's a great deal. The one bad thing about this promo, they didn't take you into consideration, Sean. It starts at 8 a.m. Eastern, and there's no way that those things last till you wake up.
With only 800 of them, yeah, they're going to be gone, and I'm not waking up at 5 in the morning to do it. As much as good as it is, as fun as it would be, I think people who do this, they should stay at a Super 8. Do it in the spirit of the promotion. Don't go fancy with other Wyndhams. You got to suffer with the rest of them.
Imagine if this promo would have happened when everything was 15,000 points for like a year or two. I mean, Wyndham comes up with some cool stuff, and then they just usually nerf it before it, once it gets rolling a little bit. If they would have kept everything at 15,000 points, even 20,000 points, I think it would have been a really good platform to stay with. They did the unlimited hotel pass for what, like $400 or $500. You get 30 nights in a hotel that you have to book over the next 60 days. I know our buddy Matt got one of those and going to all inclusives and stuff. And they've been doing really unique things this summer.
Do you remember when they launched the Every Hotel's 15,000 promotion? They had that weird genie guy that was their spokesperson. Really cool marketing campaign and throwback. You don't remember that? The weird.
I remember the guy from Game of Thrones, the redhead with the beard and stuff, does them, but he's been doing them for the last couple of years. But they always have.
Yeah, I think he was the genie right back then. Oh God, I'll have to
he?
go look this up. I'll put it on the screen to see if we're talking about the same guy. I'll have to look it up after the show. But as you say, Wyndham is not a bigger name in the loyalties. I mean, they're a huge hotel company. They are a bigger name, honestly, but a lot of lower end properties. And I guess in the discussion that we have among loyalty programs, not mainstream in that way, but they do stand out, and they know their customers and they know them well. And Super 8, 50 years. Wow. Are you a Super 8 guy? Are you a Motel 6 guy? Bringing back that discussion.
I think Super 8s are a lot nicer than Motel 6. I've stayed in both, but I think Super 8 definitely. Red Roof Inn is probably the best of all the low end hotels, though, I would say. Motel 6 is last. Super 8 middle, and then Red Roof Inn top. I don't know if anybody tuned in thinking they were going to get the low end hotel. Nights Inn, the lowest of low. That's the shadiest.
Nights Inn or Roadway Inn? We got to go Nights Inn or Roadway. Which one is the worst?
Nights Inn the lowest, then Roadway, then Motel 6, then Super 8, and then Red Roof Inn. But let's go back to the 70s. If you could get hotel rooms for $888, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still thinking about Nights Inn and this one I stayed in, and the smell came back to me just now, and I can't get over it, so I have to move on before we do it. But let us know what your least favorite. What is the worst hotel brand in the U.S.? Just absolute worst motel brand. I'd love to hear people's opinions, because there are some really bad ones out there. And let's end with some cool S. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying cool S just to mess with you.
We need a whammo to come up. Cool S. Blah 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 blah.
But there's this party jet out of Dubai. It's $15,000 an hour. I think it's based on the Airbus A220. It's the private jet version of that. So it has a bedroom, it has a dining table, it has full kitchen on board. And apparently this is becoming big business in Dubai, people renting these out. $15,000 an hour. Now it can fly, I think, up to 12 hours, it said. So are you ready to drop $100K to fly from Detroit to Europe on one of these things?
I think it'd be awesome. I mean, it's a huge. They have all these seats and stuff, but the name, I think, is 5. At least that's what it says on the airplane. You could easily fit 15, 20 people on there, and they'd all be in a seat that has a buckle and stuff. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah, if you could do it 15 to 20 people, maybe you could do a 3-4 hour flight and make it happen. Another world, and it's better than those little private jets that you can fly on that people have jet passes for and stuff and fly empty legs. you're crammed in there, tight little thing. This is like a full blown thing. Should we mention the Vegas version of this that we talked about on MTM Vegas a couple weeks back?
Yeah, where you can get the Mile High Club in the sky. There is that out of Vegas, but it's not on one of these. You know, it
No.
would cost a lot more. This would be a lot cooler. And I mean, people are doing this all the time on these private jets. It's interesting to see the world of this. And obviously, there's a lot of very wealthy people who own these, but there is a whole market. And that's what this article talks about, of people who are wealthy enough to afford to rent these things, but not quite in the market for a jet for one reason or the other. Maybe they don't fly enough. So there is a demand for this upscale private jet that you can party and fly, and there's people to pay for it. So it's an interesting concept. What I also found interesting in the article was talking about the upcoming BBJ 779, and this is going to be the private jet version of the 777-9, able to fly up to 20 hours, so basically anywhere on Earth, and it will be 3,700 square feet of space on the inside of the plane for the passengers. And I think it's only $500 million. But if I was a billionaire, this is the one I would get. You know, a
Yeah.
777 private jet.
It looks insane. I wonder what the rental rates. I'll pick a little small bone with you. It's rich people rent, wealthy people buy. So it's people that are rich but aren't wealthy. That's who's renting these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're wealthy, even if you don't fly all that often, you got one anyway, you know, just for the once a year that you go with everybody on staff. But love to look into that world. And I have flown private. It is amazing, not on anything that nice, but it is an amazing experience. And it's nice to see how the other 0.1%, 0.001% live, something like that. So let us know in the comments what you think about that. Private jets, party jet, rent day, Amex Gold, Southwest dropping the hammer on the cattle call. Are you happy about that? I certainly am. Hit us up in the comments. We do a new show every Wednesday. We just had a bonus show come out with our 5 tips for getting started in miles and points. So check that out on the channel. If you like the show, tell people, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and of course, discuss everything down there. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.